My husband's 38M actions towards his daughter's 16F abuse is bothering me 34F. My stepdaughter confided to us that her grandfather, my Phil, has been sexually abusing her for years. I was home alone with my daughter yesterday. Somehow the conversation of whether she was going to report the abuse came up. I encouraged her to talk to a therapist who will help her. I told my husband after he came home and his reaction wasn't the best. He was mad at me for pushing her to go to the police or even see a therapist. He said his grandfather is still his dad and that he's remorseful as is. Apparently, he is still going to be in contact with his dad. Am I right to be upset and ultimately thinking about divorce? Contact bio mom, call CPS, leave your husband. You don't want to be with a man with this casual an attitude toward abuse. I love my dad, but if I found out he'd done anything like that, I'd incinerate his life no problem. Also dude's not sorry. Dude is sick and evil. He said his grandfather is still his dad. Is his daughter not still his daughter? Her going to therapy is going to in no way affect the grandfather, except in that it might make her feel more secure in herself so she refuses to ever see the grandfather again, which she should never have to do. Yeah, you're right to be upset. Do you have other children? Because if you do, then their safety is paramount. The man is a sexual predator, and your husband acts like an enabler. I would 100% get a divorce. Please. As a victim of abuse. Call out his shitty behavior if it's in front of her. She is the victim. She matters most. Seriously, divorce THST man, do not have children with that man. Hell, tell her she can stay here with you. Yes, justifying a pedophile is a solid ground for divorce. However, please make sure that your stepdaughter is safe. Definitely divorce him, what the fuck? Call the police, call CPS, divorce his ass. Talking to him will not put the man behind bars. She's 15, and her dad is not supporting her. It's very likely she will tell you she doesn't want to report, but unfortunately it needs to be reported. Sounds like the apple didn't fall far enough from the tree. Yes, it's very upsetting. Before jumping straight to divorce, I would recommend that you see a therapist and just make it happen for your daughter also, each separately or the two of you together or whatnot, and I'd push very hard on your husband to help him see your point on this. You seeing a therapist will help you approach your husband about it also. Get daughter therapy. Tell hubby that at rate he's going his daughter has every right to cease contact with him come 18 based on the way he is behaving and that you would support her in that choice. Then you and he have couples counseling as this has changed the way you feel about him and he needs to understand that his decision has consequences and he can't just bury his head in the sand. Sounds like he may be suppressing his reaction for a reason. I don't really understand people who are abuser apologists. If it were my child, there's just no way I wouldn't be going to the police depending on what this abuse entails. I hope you manage to work it through. The main thing is to focus on your daughter and help her come to terms with her trauma. This dynamic is a big part of why familial abuse is so common and is so rarely dealt with in ways that help the victim. The easiest and most comfortable outcome for the relatives is to pressure the victim to stay silent. That way, they protect the perpetrator and also protect themselves from discomfort and shame. In a very real sense, the victim's well-being is sacrificed. You are right to be disgusted. Please try to help this girl. She needs therapy. Okay. My family has a history of sexual abuse, as do my in-laws. While we all loved the abusers, they should have gone to prison. They stole the innocence of children. They deserved to be held accountable. The fact that they were not, to this day angers me, even though I myself was not a victim. I saw the destruction that the abuse and the family's refusal to deal with it wrought, and to be honest, I'm not sure which was more destructive. Your husband needs to act like a real human being instead of an enabler and hold his father to task and protect his daughter. Otherwise, he's no better than his dad. And I see no indication that he is a good man. Literally the only thing I know about it is that he doesn't want his dad reported for molesting his fucking daughter. There was no point where you said your husband was shocked or anything. And how did he know there was remorse? So he knew this was going on. How long have you been married? Is it possible the Phil has abused others and your husband is aware? I think your husband was either a victim of or a perpetrator of abuse himself. I love my dad, but he does that. He's dead to me. In fact, he's actually dead if I get hold of him. There is no other reason I can envisage that allows him to give him any benefit of the doubt. You are the key to this child having a completely shit life forever. Or, maybe healing. Do the right thing. When people know about the abuse and do nothing, it's another trauma. I know this personally. Have you legally adopted your stepdaughter? If not, maybe you should. You are up to it. Because she needs to have an adult protecting her, and her dad isn't, and neither is her bio mom or grandparents. Honestly, I'd divorce him ASAP, fight for custody of her, and use this example as how he won't protect her. Same if you have any bio kids, because he'll definitely bring the grandfather over behind your back. WTF. His abusive POS father is more important to him than a child. His child. What the fuck? I'm so sorry she going through this. Any person who chooses a child abuser is not someone you should be married to. The fact that he chose his father over his own daughter is sickening and irredeemable. Go to the police, and if you can or want, get custody of that poor girl. Fuck yeah, you are in the right for wanting a divorce. That behavior should not be tolerated. What will happen with the girl when you get a divorce? Your husband is a jerk. Your daughter needs protection from her grandfather, the police need to be called, and it sounds like from her own father as well. The same happened to me, and my mom never stepped up for me like that. She is still young and probably very traumatized. She now needs a strong female role model to guide her for a bit until she is better. And her husband is an ass. He is a negative influence that doesn't prioritizes his own daughter. She doesn't deserve that. It must be very hard for you, so consider getting help too, like a therapist or something. I'm rooting for you both. You two just have to have each other's back. I somehow did it, so I'm sure you both gonna survive that shitty situation too. You're completely in the right here. Her father is not only failing to protect her, he's an enabler. And while I can't imagine how hard it must be to find out either of your parents is a pedophile, she's still his daughter. Her health and safety should be above everything else. Call him out on his shit. Also, please don't divorce him without making sure your stepdaughter is safe. Predators always play victim when they're called out, it's so disgusting. Divorce your husband because obviously he's gonna guilt his daughter into not speaking up. You are a better parent for her than her own father. You need to contact the police. He's not remorseful for doing it, he's remorseful because he got caught, and your husband is a spineless coward and a bad father for not protecting his child and choosing to protect her abuser. His reaction shows that he knew and did nothing to protect or to help her heal after the fact. This is his daughter, and this is he treats molestation. Yes, divorce and try and help the daughters as much as you can. I was molested by my adopted brother. I was dealing with PTSD, depression, anxiety, etc. And my parents did not get me the help I needed. They didn't want it to ruin their good family image. That did more harm to me than the original assault. The fact that they cared more about what other people thought than they cared about the fact that I was abused and needed help. I wished I'd had someone in my life to stand up for me and show me that my suffering mattered. Please be that person for your stepdaughter. Help the daughter, leave the man. You have no idea how common this reaction is and how upsetting it is for the victim. I was the stepdaughter, except it was my brother who was molesting me. My parents didn't believe me, didn't do anything about it. I'm 45 now and I'm just getting my life figured out. I have 4 daughters and I've lived in fear all their lives to let them go places. I've gone through so much therapy to get where I am. She deserves better. Be the person she can count on. Make sure the police know right now that your ex-husband plans on contacting the abuser. My NMOM did this to my stepdad so he could get away. Detectives proved it with phone records, but it botched the entire investigation. And #X200B. Document everything. His reaction, his statements, keep copies of everything and anything police give you. I really hope you can keep the child safe. The fact that he doesn't care that his daughter was abused is the most telling factor here and the main reason you shouldn't want to have anything to do with a person like that. Hopefully, you'll also do what you can to help her. He not only broke the law, he shattered a child's innocence. He deserves to be appropriately punished. Lord knows she will be for the rest of her life. The grandfather is a predator. They use their power and feelings to manipulate those around them, especially in families. I would probably try to see if you could help the daughter. 1. File the report. 2. Get counseling, and 3. Make sure she can live with someone who will protect her from the backlash of all of this. And 4. You have every right to be upset and think of divorce. That is up to you though. IDK if it's a deal breaker or not if your husband sides with an abuser rather than his own daughter and her healing. It's pretty typical for people to side with the abuser than the abused. Nope, just take the fucking kids. I wouldn't trust them around anyone who doesn't hate all pedos like that. I think some people really need to stop seeing child sex abuse as sex or urges and start seeing it as a form of torture because the effects are the same. If you found out your Phil was torturing her not molesting her you both would be a lot more bothered and, remorse, would not be acceptable. When my dad found out about my sexual abuse by his Bill, he went NC with whoever continued to have contact with Bill and his sister. He even cut his own father, my GPA, out of his life for blaming me for breaking up the family. My dad said that he would always be on my side no matter what. That he has no obligation to those people, his siblings. That I was his daughter and my well-being was more important than anything. He even cut out my sister for the bullshit she did to help my monster stay out of jail. You should report the grandfather to the police and child services. You should speak up. I honestly think you need to get CPS involved, after you talk to her. Even if she doesn't want to press charges, which really isn't her decision if she's underage, her grandfather needs to be kept away from her and her father obviously isn't going to do that without some kind of legal intervention. Please don't just wash your hands of the situation, she needs help. What the hell? Get a divorce, unless you can be happy being married to a pedophile apologist. And be there for your stepdaughter, bless her heart. Thank you for being there for her, you're a good stepmom. He is literally enabling and normalizing pedophilia and sexual abuse. How are you still with him? Report it to CPS and the cops. If you choose to stay with him that's all you, but you are obligated to protect your stepdaughter. He's one cold MF. Reminds me of this hurl whose dad raped her half-sister, and was like, oh well he's my dad so I am gonna stick by his side. She didn't get why the sister was so mad at her dad. Disgusting emo. Divorce him. Become your stepdaughter's biggest advocate. Treat her with all the care and respect she needs and tell her that his reaction is why you left him. Tell her that she is worth more. What's the grandfather's address? Me and the boys just wanna talk. Sue when presented with all the fact, your husband is prioritizing his dad's, a pedophile, well-being over his daughter, a 16-years-old victim. Wow. Honestly sounds like he's just a bad person and the apple didn't fall far from the tree. I would report it. You need to talk to husband and explain that granddad is only remorseful about being caught. What he did should be unthinkable, so the fact that he did it means he has a problem. He needs to support his daughter in any way to lessen the long-term damage. If he refuses, stick around long enough to help your daughter through this. Help her contact a therapist and the proper authorities. Be her shield and pin cushion through all of this. When the family stops attacking her and turns all the blame to you, leave. If you're so as unwilling to change course, sacrifice your marriage and the next short time of happiness in order to save this girl's life. Speaking from EXP. Divorce that piece of shit. My sister's currently dating a man that has full knowledge of the fact his ex-baby mama's father sexually abused her, and there's suspicion that he's abusing their kids. To the point that the younger son doesn't like going over to visit but won't say why. They still allow visits with this pervert. And my sister doesn't seem to think it's a big deal because, it's their family. Divorce. Run. And get restraining orders. Family doesn't have precedence when it comes to sexual abuse.